Revered and beloved film critic Leonard Maltin puts this film score at the top of the heap. Not one of his all-time favourites, his number one all-time favourite. With all the films and their scores that must have passed the ears of Mr. Maltin, that makes this film music extra special. What film score am I referring to? Well, it comes from 1958 and is one of the most famous westerns ever made. It was a popular soundtrack in the United Artists record catalogue, a 29-minute selection with highlights over 12 cuts that remained in print on records for just about forever. And it earned an Academy Award nomination. For the 60th anniversary in 2018, Quartet Records issued a 2-CD set featuring all the music recorded as well as the original album. What film and score am I referring to? Together, let's find out. Hello, my name is Chris Malone, and today we're going to take a listen to music from The Big Country, composed by Jerome Moross. Moross was born in New York City in 1913 and started playing piano at the princely age of 5. Blessed with perfect pitch and being academically gifted, he became somewhat of an outsider to his peers, aside from his school friend and later film composer for Alfred Hitchcock, Bernard Herrmann. In an interview with Noah Andre Trudeau, Jerome Moross said that he was excited to compose the music for The Big Country, and he wanted to deliberately avoid the Russian style of Dmitri Tiomkin, who had previously defined the very musical sound of the genre with scores such as High Noon, Giant, and Gunfight at the OK Corral. Moross considered that his approach was no different to how he would have composed for theatre. However, for film, he wrote a 4 to 5 stave short sketch and then involved orchestrators to set his compositions for a symphonic setting. Moross started in Hollywood as an orchestrator and wrote his first film score in 1948. He would compose for 15 more films before retiring from film composition in 1969. He passed away in 1983 at the age of 69. As good as the score to The Big Country is within the film, it's hugely accessible as a solid listen outside of it. It's probably some of the most understandable film music there is, and it doesn't feel dated like a lot of so-called golden age scores sometimes do. What strikes me the most about The Big Country's music is how energetic and energizing it is. The main title was designed by Saul Bass, and from its opening note it's full of energy and pace. Whilst there are many other examples, the first 90 seconds of Cattle at the River is a great example from within the body of the score. I've used it and the tracks that follow to commence my walk to a local cafe to clear my ears and fetch a takeout coffee. Not so much Big Country as Little Town, accompanied by music to invigorate and to recharge. In the sequence titled The Welcoming, the composer is quite literally pressing raw energy into my ears. And to absorb that energy and to gain power from it, my job is easy. All I have to do is to listen. To provide that energy, Jerome Moross often uses his brasses and strings as rhythmic and percussive devices. In many of the more action-orientated cues, we hear brasses or strings often synchronized with timpani. He then adds longer melodic lines on top. It's a method that creates much excitement. This ostinato rhythmic technique is clever because the composer expresses the wider open-spaced Americana feeling by mostly taking the rhythm away or modifying it. An example is at the start of the cue titled McKay's Ride, where we have an approach that sounds like John Barry in Out of Africa or Dances with Wolves mode. The long lines for horns and brass with a melody on top. Jerome Moross's film music voice was rather unique. If we wind back to 1958, it may have been perceived as a vastly different approach to what had been heard in orchestral music up to that time. In the Trudeau interview, the composer said, quote, "My own style is American, unconsciously American," end quote. And that he ended up composing the, quote, "prototype Western, the way to do a Western," end quote. And that's what makes the Big Country so special. It's giving us the modern musical grammar to hang our hat on and to understand what the wide open spaces of America were like long ago. Quartet Records' 60th anniversary 2-CD set includes a remastered version of the expanded score on Disc 1. Two different remastered treatments of the original United Artists LP are present on Disc 2. Firstly, in the original mono as heard on the very first pressings, and then the processed stereo version kept in circulation later. Whichever way you want to dive in, The Big Country is a rich, rewarding and engaging score. You'll find the Big Country 2-CD soundtrack at quartetrecords.com, any of the world's finest soundtrack retailers, or on Amazon. Well, that's just about it for today. Thanks for listening, and I hope you'll join me next time to discuss another soundtrack. Bye for now.